Good evening. Welcome back to CCKF Live. This is the first actual time that I'm doing this, as I'm also recording for the podcast. I don't know if you guys saw, I posted last night. We're going to start doing some of the podcasting, and uh, I took the 2024 information meeting and actually went ahead and posted that on Spotify as the first podcast. So while this is technically will be the second one posted, it's the first one we've done with this new microphone setup and trying to get the podcast going. Before we get started, just a reminder: hey, it's only 3 weeks from Saturday to the first tournament, CCKF tournament of the year at Harris Lake. So if you haven't asked permission to fish that weekend, you better go ahead and get that done because it's going to be here in no time. So this is a new thing I wanted to do, Angler Spotlight, where I kind of want to highlight anglers from the local area that have been involved with CCKF some way. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are CCKF fishermen. It might just be they might have some other influence, but all of them will have some ties to CCKF. So about 3 weeks ago, the Hobie BOS series kicked off on Harris Chain of Lakes. And I knew a few guys, local guys, were going. I did not even know that these two guys were headed down. I should have known, but I didn't. And I logged in probably 3.5 hours into the tournament. And bam, there they both are. They're on the leaderboard, like 1 and 2. And both have already posted these huge bags. And, you know, there were lots of posts floating around Facebook since then. I'll get into one of them that I was chuckling about specifically in a few minutes. But I want to bring these two guys on and introduce them to you. I've got Hunter Hernandez and I've got Wyatt Hammond. How you guys doing this evening?
Doing good.
Good. Good. So I believe, Wyatt, you list yourself as living in Fayetteville, correct?
Right.
And Hunter, are you living in Rayford?
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right. Where were you born and raised? I'll start with you, Hunter. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised down in Warner Robins, Georgia. A lot of people don't really know where that's at. It's kind of about 2 hours south of Atlanta.
And
So,
what brought you up to Rayford?
so my family was military. So my dad was Navy, mom was Army, and my mom, she decided to do more civilian based, so she decided to transfer up to Fayetteville, North Carolina, to start working there at a small company. And so that's what brought us here. And I think I moved back here in 2012 because this isn't my first time actually living in North Carolina. I stayed back in, I want to say I was about like 7 or 8, and I stayed out in Sanford or so, Harnett County area at first, and then I moved back down to Fayetteville later on in life.
I'm being from Warner Robins. I'm surprised you didn't end up tied to the Air Force in some way.
You know, I did think about joining the service, of course, but I had other plans in life and trying to make a career at this.
I know two guys from there. I work with one. He was in the Air Force, and the other one is a country music star. Uh,
Oh, nice.
Travis Denning from Warner Robins. So what about you? Are you from this area, or are you born and raised somewhere else and moved here?
No, I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. So
Okay.
grew up there. Went to college at Coastal Carolina. Ended up just staying in Myrtle Beach for about 12 years, and came up here 5 years ago.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. So interestingly enough, you guys both work at the same place, correct?
yeah.
Y'all are at the Dick's House of Sports, the new House of Sports in Fayetteville. So, as a matter of fact, the last time I've even seen either one of you, I was there right after it opened, a couple of weeks after it opened in the
Yep.
fall, and saw both of you. So we'll throw a shout out to them if anybody's in the area and you haven't been and checked it out. Um, it's kind of like a remodel of where the Dicks and the Field and Stream coexisted into one big place. And if nothing else, you've got to go check out the sports simulator and you can do it does like multiple sports in the same simulator. It's pretty neat. So tell me a little bit about your local fishing. So what do you do fishing locally? Are you fishing any of the local trails? I know that you both have participated in CCKF in the past. Wyatt actually turned in one of the largest bass ever turned in for CCKF in one of the monthly tournaments. I'm going to show a picture of that one later. But so just kind of tell me what your local fishing is like when you're not out traipsing around the country.
My favorite lake is Harris so far. So I'm always out there on Harris, just picking around out there. I've started to learn it. Finally, 5 years later, started to learn it in the wintertime. But if I fish that, I really like fishing Heiko. I was actually out there today and just kind of pinging all over the place. So I'll say pretty much anywhere that's got water, I like to fish, except for Jordan there, Paul. I still haven't figured that one out. I could take me another 20 years to figure out Jordan Lake, but
well, it seems to me, being from here, that you figure out one or the other, but not many people have figured out both. They fish so differently, being 10 miles apart. So,
yeah.
What about you, Hunter?
Typically when we're not doing trails, man, I'm typically at two lakes. If it's not Norman, it's probably Sutton Lake. Recently, within like the past 2 years, I fell in love with fishing big swim baits, big glide baits, and I've started to take that more serious than what I thought I would. And I fell in love with those two lakes just because Norman, clear water, large spotted. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm actually sitting next to my hyper shad right now as we speak.
Yeah.
But I fell in love for fishing small glides for spotted bass and big largemouth up at Norman, and then I stumbled across Sutton, and I took a day out there and threw nothing but glides, and I just knew that was going to be like one of my home lakes. Granted, they're both 2.5 hours away. Those two have just stuck with me. I'll drive anywhere to go fish, though. I'll drive there before I go anywhere to fish, honestly.
And just so people know, Sutton is the lake just off I-40 down towards Wilmington, correct?
Correct.
Right off. Jeremy Hicks down east kayak fishing last year. They had a tournament out there. I had hoped to get to it, and I didn't make it, but I'm interested to go fish that lake. The setup with like the 9 different little pools that kind of go clockwise around this little strip of land. It looks really good to me. So
we'll definitely have to go out there one day.
So tell me this. There's 2 things I kind of want to know. I want to know, when did you get started fishing, but also what's your earliest fishing memory? So those 2 could kind of be tied together, but maybe not. So let's start with Wyatt.
Mine is like I don't even remember how old I was, but I remember sitting on my grandpa and my dad actually built a lake house on Santee, on the lower lake of Santee, and I just remember walking a bucket of crickets down to the dock with literally just a cane pole, just and my grandpa and I sitting on the dock catching brim and stuff with crickets on the dock.
Cool. What about you, Hunter?
See, mine started, not too long ago. I'm only 23, so started at 4 years old. I was fishing with my granddad. Started off fishing with, live worms, crickets, and minnows for bluegill, crappie. And then I guess the most memorable would be fishing Lake Oconee back home in Georgia with my granddad and brother Dave, and just sitting there at night underneath the bridge catching crappie and bass all day and watching the hybrids just swim underneath the green light eating up the shad.
Yeah. Mine's kind of similar to Wyatt. It wasn't a family member, it was a close family friend taking me out to best thing I know to describe, it's a farm pond, and with crickets or worms, and cane poles and catching brim. And he never even got a chance to fish because I would just catch one fish after the other. I was so young, I wasn't baiting hooks or taking the fish off. So I was just swinging fish around him, and he'd take it off, throw it in, and put another cricket on my hook, and there I'd go again. So those are fun. We forget how simple fishing can be, and how much
Yeah.
fun you have. So how did you get started in kayak fishing? What made you make the move into kayak fishing? What spurred that initial spark? That said, "Hey, I'm gonna get this plastic boat that looks like it could tip over at any minute and go out in the middle of a lake, see how many fish I can catch." So, Hunter, I'll let you start this one.
So after I graduated high school, my parents gifted me a kayak for graduating, and it was a perception sit-in, and I remember my first time taking it out was to Jordan Lake in December, and I went and stopped at the store right there before you get to Farrington, if I'm not mistaken. Went to the store, grabbed some minnows, and I just went paddling around, and I was just crappie fishing under the bridge, and then I hooked into a 3 pound bass, and I was just like, I like this. I can take my kayak wherever I want, have no problems getting in and out in certain areas, and you know it started actually thanks to Wyatt. Wyatt actually, he got me more into it, and that's when I ended up purchasing my first sit on top kayak, and he took me out about 2.5, 3 miles offshore, go fish for tog at the artificial reef 370 off the coast of Wilmington,
Oh
and then
wow!
since then, man, I mean, I've been hooked. So I thank Wyatt for that, for putting me in honestly a different world of fishing that I never thought I'd actually be in.
And Wyatt, how'd you get started in the kayak?
On the kayak side of things, I started actually saltwater fishing from a kayak because I had a bass boat, but can't do anything in saltwater with it. So I started with the cheap Pelican Bandit and 100. There was $200, and I'd float that around in the intercoastal and Little River Inlet for flounder and redfish and everything. And it just kind of slowly escalated. What did I go from? I went from the Bandit to like the fishing version of the Bandit, and then the Eagle Talon, which is like a $500 kayak, and then just kind of like slowly work my way up. I ended up with an Attack 140 a couple of years ago, and then the Old Town Big Waters. So just kind of over the years, probably about 15 years ago, and so I started with the little Bandit 100, and now I got the big water.
So while we're talking about it, what kayak are you in now, Wyatt?
So right now it's back and forth between the Big Water 132 and the Autopilot 136.
Okay, so you've got one motorized, and I assume the big water is still pedal only.
Yep.
Yeah. What kind of electronics setups are you running?
So I've got a Solix 10 that I swap between both of them. I bought a spare transducer, and they each have I just drop the unit on each one depending on which one I'm going to use.
Okay. And Hunter, so the reason I'm talking about kayaks, there were Facebook posts out there. I don't know if you've seen them or not, right? People not even that were just watching the BOS. We're taking pictures of your catches, and like, look at this dude down at Harris Chain of Lakes in and I'm guessing $1,800, $1,900 kayak. That's at least what they were stating on the Facebook post, right? And putting a hurting on these guys that are down there with, I mean, some of those boats that are going to show up to these BOS tournaments are $12,000, $13,000. When you take a PA 14, you've got forward facing sonar on it and a motor. And yours is a Perception Pescador, and I know it's the pedal version, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. It's a Perception Pescador Pilot.
Pilot. Yep. So we actually have a guy that fished with us, still fishes with us some. When he was fishing with us, that's what he started in, right? Was that Pescador Pilot? I've had the Pescador Pro. I never had the pedal version. And then what about your electronics?
So I'm running the Lowrance Elite FS9.
Okay. And you don't have Lawrence, I guess that Lawrence, they don't call it forward-facing sonar. Lawrence calls it live target. Is that right?
So they have their active target. I do have active target. I run that here and there.
Okay. All right. It's but the point still made. Why you're not running anything like active target or
I've
forward.
got Mega Live on it. I'm not nearly as good as it was Hunter as Hunter is. Hunter's a wizard with forward face, and I'm still learning it.
Okay. All right. But still, I mean, it's so you've got Hunter's got forward facing sonar and a let's just say a $2,000 kayak roughly, and add that electronics and all in. I'm guessing still probably less than 4,000 for you, Hunter.
Yeah.
And Wyatt, yours. Let's just say if you've got, I'm guessing 2,000 in electronics, and then so you're probably around the 5,000 range, right? Being in the old town.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, that was a good show that you guys put on down there, showing that you don't always have to have the biggest and the best, right? It's about finding fish and catching fish. So,
yeah.
Couple more questions before we start getting into national trails and what you guys have done. If you could pick, I'll say, one lake in the U.S., right? Is there one lake in the U.S. that maybe you have been to or you haven't been to that you would like to fish? Like what's kind of your top tier U.S. lake?
Oof.
This one came up. I thought about this because at my work we have our online meetings, right? There's always an icebreaker. So the icebreaker last week was, what's like your 2 top bucket list items. And for me, it was like, I'd love the ability to travel around the Southeast and hit all of these Alabama lakes, Gunnersville, Harris Chain, whatever it is. I'd like to go hit these target lakes, and say I've at least fished all of them.
I feel like Hunter is probably OHIV or something like that.
It is. I'd honestly say, if not that, it'll probably be Cayuga Lake in New York.
Okay.
I think I've had the most fun at Chickamauga.
Okay.
I think Chickamauga was probably one of the most fun. I like Gunnersville, but she can be mean every now and then.
Chickamauga is on my list just because I grew up watching, Bill Dance. I always kind of equated Reelfoot and Chickamauga with Bill Dance for some reason. I guess those are just what I saw on TV. So before we even get specifically into BOS, and I'm just going kind of chronologically at this point. So Wyatt, you had some recent success with KBF, and the sad thing is it didn't even dawn on me that was you until the Hobie BOS occurred, right? And I started thinking, you guys are getting these posts on the auto lights went off. Yeah. These you guys are getting posted about, right, for the BOS thing. And so I started looking at it and I was like, holy cow, like that's the same Wyatt Hammond that just won KBF the trail championship for 2023. And not only just the trail championship, the 10 Invitational as well.
I didn't win the Russ won the 10 Invitational.
Well, maybe it was just that event.
It was the event Angler of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and then they have a separate event for the top 10 and Angler of the Year. That's the 10 Invitational.
Okay, all right. Well, they've got something's weird on their site right now, because if you go back and look at the results from it was in Huntsville, right? If you go back and look at the results there now, it's got you under 10 Invitational for some reason, but it's but still, just winning that trail championship is. But so tell me this. So want people to understand there's the trail series and there's the challenge series. So KBF challenge series is basically online tournaments that you fish in your own state. The
Yep.
trail series is I would call it more the upper tier. It's where you travel around to different locations and fish in-person events. For you to get to the championship, what events did you fish to qualify for that?
Well, I lost you there for a second.
Oh, sorry. So on the trail series, you go around and you fish, in-person events, basically, right? It's almost like Hobie BOS. You travel around and fish it.
Yeah.
What events did you fish leading up to the championship that got you qualified to fish the championship? Like what lakes did
So
you?
I fished Murray. We fished Murray, the Potomac River, and Chickamauga for KBF. I remember right. Am I missing any, Hunter? It was Murray, Potomac, and then Chickamauga.
That was
And
it.
yeah, just those. And those they count. There's two 1-day events. So Saturday is a 1-day tournament. Sunday is a 1-day tournament. So it kind of counted as 6 tournaments. And the ones that got me there were, I believe, I came in 4th one of the days on the Potomac, and then or 4th or 7th one of the days on Potomac, and then I won day 2 of Chickamauga, and I came in 4th on day 1 of Chickamauga.
So I was looking just at your championship performance, and you won the twirl at Chickamauga last year. Hank is saying too. So, but I looked just at your championship performance there, which was in that was October of 23, correct? Like mid to late October that you guys fished there. Day 1, you finished in 6th place with 89.75 inches. With your bag was 16 and a quarter, 16 and 3/4, 17 and a half, 18, and then 20 and 3/4. Notable also in that event, Justin Faircloth and Eric Nelson, both the CKA guys. Justin finished 7th on day 1, and Eric was 16th on day 1. And then day 2, you came back and had a bigger bag, right? Had a much bigger day. Finished 2nd place for day 2. But the fish sizes didn't change that much on day 2. I mean, you gained a couple inches, but it was 17 and a half, 17 and a half, 18 and 3/4, 20 and 21. And that was, the 6th place finish on day 1, 2nd place in day 2, that puts you in 1st place, for the 2-day event. We lost Hunter for a second. But I just thought it was, if you look at that event that you won, right, that championship, I mean, it's almost like BOS, like the list of names of people that were participating and that you beat out. Garrett Wade, Russ Snyders, Eric Jackson, the guy that founded Jackson Kayaks, Christine Fisher, Jody Queen, Matt Ball, and we all know these names. Any of us that tournament fish a little bit and follow it know these names. Casey Reed, of course, he's national. Casey fishes an event or two with us, was 18th. Justin Faircloth ended up 25th. And just to mention the other guys close to CCKF, Stephen Bell had a 27th and Arlie Minton had a 35th. And I didn't go on down beyond that. But, I mean, that's just an impressive list of names to beat. And, we had Hank on and Will Lambert on when we talked about kicking off the 2024 season. And, Hank always points out, like, North Carolina has got a list of hammers, that for some reason, a lot of the North Carolina guys just don't venture out of North Carolina much, right? They're like really strong anglers around North Carolina. But it's good to see that you two guys are getting out and getting on the national scene. And I'm assuming, Hunter, you fished all the same KBF events as Wyatt, right? Those 3.
Correct.
And it's so it's just cool, I mean, even when I was down in Dix and we were talking, and Hunter, you were telling me some of the events like you guys had been fishing, and I mean, you tell me, okay, we're fishing KBF, I just wasn't putting it together like Wyatt's having a great year. This was right about the time that Wyatt was going to win this thing when I was down there. So, You know, I
Yeah.
just had to put it together. Let's fast forward to January. And January 27th and 28th down at Harris Chain of Lakes. And like I mentioned a minute ago, you know, 3.5 hours in, I pull up the leaderboard and you two guys are in first and second. And I mean, I don't think anybody ever really threatened you that much once you guys, I know Hunter told me like in the first, 2 hours, you guys had over 100 inches.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
man, I might have just gone back to the boat ramp at that point. I would have thought, you know, there's nowhere but downhill for me from here. But look, on day one, for everybody that's listening or watching, Wyatt posted 107.5 inches for day one. Hunter posted 113 inches on day one. The previous single day bag prior to January 27th was 108.5 inches. And that was by Irwin, I don't have Ewing. I don't know how he pronounces it.
Ewing.
Right, he's a collegiate angler, right? He's a bass boat guy that has come over to kayaking and basically dominated last year, right? Won the Angler of the Year, won everything. You know, something else to point out, and my mind just left me. But the this was one of the elite pros, the guy from Australia. This was his first kayak tournament that he was participating in. And I know it's Brandon Pollock's cousin-in-law, but for some reason I can't think of his name. But like
Carl Johnson.
Carl Johnson. I mean, I'm looking at the list of names. It's almost the same list of names from KBF, right? It's like it's Christine, it's Carl, it's just all these names. It's Russ, Jody, Matt Ball. It's all these guys that we see, you know, all over as kayak anglers that we see. And then you guys just put a pounding on them. I mean, so, you know, it begs me to ask, I guess, when did you get down there? Like, when did you start practicing for this event?
So we went down there on Wednesday, and we started on Lake Dora, and we were pinging around. I wasn't trying to fish too much because I knew that we needed to find, you know, groups of fish because they weren't entirely on the bank or anything. So it wasn't going to be a go down the bank, look for spawning fish event. I knew they were still in kind of that pre-spawn stage. So we like fish for a couple minutes and then zoom somewhere else. And I think in Dora, I went down the entire right or left-hand side of the lake, and Hunter went down the entire right side of the lake. And then wherever it pinches in the middle, we both switched and just ended up terrible day in there. I think I caught 3 fish. Hunter, I think Hunter caught 8 fish. It was a rough day. Wednesday was a rough day.
So did things turn around for you in practice prior to the tournament kickoff? I mean,
Thursday at about 2:00, we were in one of the lakes, and we decided that we weren't that. I'd caught a 4-pounder and like a little 12 or 13 incher. Hunter had caught some small ones, and we were about to leave and head back to the boat ramp to hit Eustis. And we both at the same time we went across this ditch with a school of fish in it, and Hunter was a little bit behind me, so I started to turn around. I see him cast at it. I cast at it. I see him set the hook. As soon as he sets the hook, I feel a bite and I set the hook, and he caught a 7.5 pounder on that, and I caught about a 5 pounder on that. Just one cast into that school, and then we knew that there was something there.
and that was on Thursday, you said?
Yeah, that was on Thursday. And what we actually ended up doing was there were crappie boats that were all trying to get in that spot, and so we just kind of fished around and sat there, took all the hooks off of everything, and just sat around that area to kind of keep an eye on it.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you do? The same thing Friday?
Yep.
Same thing Friday.
So you got to get back and make sure to protect that spot.
So one of us would sit there, and the other one would kind of go off and see if they could find any more stuff, and then switch. I think one of the crappie boats ended up drifting onto that spot, and they were catching 5-pounders on crappie jigs.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
they
So I'm
definitely.
assuming, go ahead.
No, I just said they definitely were. I was guarding the spot, and crappie boat, drifted right past me, and sure enough, caught a 5.
So that's funny because the only time I ever catch crappie is on a bass bait, right? Like the biggest crappie I've ever caught, I'm throwing either a lipless crank or a chatterbait. I've caught them on some weird things out at Jordan. And before last year, I said I'd never caught a crappie on purpose, no matter how hard I tried. And but now you got the crappie guys down there catching your bass out of your honey hole. So is that you just went straight there when the tournament kicked off on Saturday? You went straight there.
Yeah, at the end of practice before the cutoff, we decided we knew that we were going to share it. We knew that we were going to, and we were just joking around. I was like, if I get over 100 inches, I'm going to stop fishing and just sit there. So I mean, day one, I went there, and in the first hour, I had 125, and I was like, I just want to feel comfortable because it's Harris, and anybody can catch a. The guy caught a 13-pounder in practice. It was like a 25 incher, 26 incher. It's like
Wow.
anything can happen out there. So I kept fishing for a little bit longer, and ended up bumping it up to 107 and a half. And then we were like, we're gonna fish, for the last 15 minutes or so of the day. So I think we only actually even fished that spot for 2 hours that day.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So day one, uh, Wyatt, yours were 19 and a quarter, 20 and a half, 22, 22, and 23 and 3/4. That's what you got on your day. Hunter was his smallest fish was 21 and 3/4. Then he had a 22, a 22, a 22 and 3/4, and a 24 and a half. And what's amazing to me is that 24 and a half was not even big, was the third biggest bass turned into the tournament, right? There were two other bass caught larger than that. In fishing North Carolina, 24 and a 24 and a half inch, you're not going to get much bigger than that in North Carolina.
Oh no.
I mean, it just blows my mind. I've got some pictures here I'm going to show. Let's see if I can make it show up here. There we go. So this is looking at Wyatt's bag, right? So we'll go from smallest to largest. This is Wyatt's 19 and a quarter, and this is his 20 and a half. His 22, one of his 22s. The other 22, you can definitely tell that's not the same fish. But and then here's his your big bass on the day, which is 23 and 3/4. And I mean, that's a healthy fish right there. It's if we go, there's Hunter's big fish. This is the 24 and a half. Look at the belly on this fish. I mean, y'all are going belly to belly right here, Hunter.
I mean, that 10 pounds, 22 ounces right there. That's all muscle, all meat.
Looking at the rest of them, this was your smallest fish of your 5-fish bag. And there we're getting to this is the first of the 22 inches and the second of the 22. I mean, I'd be happy with any of these fish. I'll be honest with you. Here's the one that's coming in about 23, and then there's that big one again. But that's just those are incredible fish. I wanted to show this too. Let me see if I can make it show up. I mentioned this earlier, so I want to show it. This is Wyatt's fish from July of 2021. So this was definitely caught on a North Carolina lake, 24 inch. You don't remember how much this one weighed, do you?
That one was 9.5.
Yeah, I don't think I would forget it either if I caught it. my personal best is a 7-pounder. So I caught that on Jordan on a black and blue jig. Swear to God. And I'd like to catch something bigger, but it's that's just where I'm at. So we talked about your practice. So what was it like on? I mean, that day, right? I mean, what's that feeling like when you come off that day on the water? You're leading that tournament. You know, at the end of day one, are you getting phone calls? Are you getting texts? I mean, kind of, what's your day like when you come off
Yeah,
the water?
like phone calls, texts, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, you
Yeah,
friend requests left and right.
nonstop. I mean, even till this day, it still goes.
Really? Well, I
I
know
mean,
I messaged both of you that night. I assumed you were together, but I just, but at the same time, I didn't want to. I made sure I messaged each of you individually just in case. But I was like, man, y'all are doing some good fishing, and wishing you luck for the next day. But evidently, something changed, and
yes.
that's on one hand, I think it shows why we have 2-day tournaments sometimes, and on the other hand, Dave said y'all left it, went to Waffle House and the Disney World Series after that day. So you guys get up on Saturday. I'm assuming you head straight back to that spot. I haven't looked at the weather. Just what kind of changed in general? Was there a big weather pattern shift? What do you think led to the fish not being there on Saturday?
So we
So,
had a cold front come through, and it was actually blowing 15 to 20 straight on that spot, but they were still there. That's the that's what hurt.
uh,
I jumped off two that were 6+ and swung, and I hooked just as many fish as I did the day before, but I only got two of them in the boat.
Boat? Yeah.
I watched 6-pounders come flying out of the water, and I see my bait just go flying off that way. And
Wow.
it was a tough day. It definitely was a tough day that day. I mean, you always think about I could have done this or I could have done that. And I mean, it happens, but it's a humbling moment. You can shine in glory, on day one. Or what's the saying? You can't win it on day one, but you can lose it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely didn't lose it on day one for sure.
Oh yeah, no.
So, man, it's tough that the bite changed a little bit. They maybe with the cold front they weren't committing as
yeah,
much. When they
yeah,
took the bait, maybe they were just a little sluggish and getting
that's
it.
what I'm thinking, because I was getting bites up until I think 10 minutes before lines out. I think I had my last bite and swung and loaded up on it, and everything was reeling them in, and hook pull right off.
But see, I
Man,
mean that is the thing that we've noticed though when practicing, we noticed that the bike actually kind of slowed down a little bit once the wind picked up. And then that's whenever we started to fish a lot slower, making sure we maintained bottom contact. And then, we were still getting bites. We weren't swinging on them, but, we were still getting solid bites.
so I had originally intended to come to this event. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I was not able to make the trip. I'm glad I didn't register and then find out I couldn't make it. But so in preparation, I'd gone shopping. I bought speed worms. I made sure I had punching rigs, not knowing. I had heard in December that further south at Okeechobee, they were already spawning in December. So I was like, man, going north up to Harris Chain, maybe they'll be spawning about this time, of late January. You guys mentioned they were still pre-spawn. What what baits were you guys having best luck on, if you're willing to share that? So
I
Mine
mean,
was a football jig.
really, just throw it down in that ditch, and
Yep.
I,
it sounded like you just jig it one time and they were on it, or they hit it on the fall. Same thing for you, Hunter.
No, actually. Uh, I only threw the jig for the last 10 minutes of the tournament, which caught me my 10, that 24. But all of my fish came on the free rig.
Okay. All right.
I've started playing around with that a little bit more, and I've noticed a difference. And
I haven't touched it at all. I've watched videos on it, YouTube videos of what to do, but I hadn't thrown that at all. So it's
it's a nice rig.
well. So what's 2024 look like for you guys moving forward? I'm assuming you're going to hit more KBF events, more BOS events. If you told me you weren't going to BOS at Norman, I'd be shocked.
I'm
But yeah,
not.
just kind of lay out your schedule, kind of, and what's your goals for 2024 moving forward.
I'm kind of on the fence right now. Wyatt's definitely going to Gunnersville in April, and I'm still kind of on the fence if I want to go to Gunnersville or Norman for the Hobie, and
Same weekend.
Yeah, same weekend, right? So
but I'm honestly, I think I'm just gonna have to go to Gunnersville. I mean, it's just the quality of fish there. Uh, you know, last time I went, I didn't do extremely well, but I think we're going a whole month later, correct, Wyatt?
Yeah.
So it should be a lot better.
yeah, that time of year, early April at Gunnersville. Um, I mean, that's the best it's going to get probably at Norman. But you're at Norman, you're going to catch a bunch of spots, and you might catch a lot of spots, but they're not going to be huge. Whereas Gunnersville, man, you've got there's a chance you can make history again at Gunnersville, right? So,
Oh yeah,
Yep.
and
Got
I've never been there, but watching it on TV and everything, that's just kind of like one of the meccas of bass fishing, right?
Oh yeah. I've got
Um,
Murray back to back, and then Logan Martin. Don't forget Hunter. I
oh
got
yeah,
Logan Martin before Gunnersville.
yeah. I
Yeah,
forgot about that one.
yeah. We're gonna try and fish as much as we possibly can without getting fired.
Definitely.
I'll tell you, man, it's cool that one Hunter, you credit Wyatt with getting you so involved with the fishing, but the fact that you guys are fishing these things together, right? The friendship, you're traveling together, staying together. Um, yeah, I mean that's just cool. That's one thing I always say about CCKF is that at least for me, it's not so much about the competition as it is the camaraderie, right? And the friendships that we make in kayak fishing, I think, are just why you came from bass boating. I've always said, the bass boaters would lie to you. Where'd you catch that fish and what'd you catch him on? And then you can't believe a word they say. And the kayak guys will tell you, here's where I went. This is what the temperature was. This is what I was throwing. So you guys are just kind of a testament to that whole, my whole philosophy of kayak bass fishing. If you're in it to make have some competition and make friends, then kayak fishing is where you need to be. So definitely,
Well,
I'm definitely glad to see the way you guys do it.
I don't know if Hunter and I weren't friends for that 30 seconds I was watching that 10-pounder go into the net.
Yeah, but
The-
that's a good thing, right? That's like when we were in grade school. You can have a fight on the playground, and then as soon as you come back inside, you're best friends again, right? As, so same way in fishing, you root for them and you root against them at the same time. So
oh yeah.
well, cool. I'm glad. So let me ask you this, or give you guys a chance. Are there any sponsors, um, pro staff company, anything like that? Is there anybody that you guys need to give a shout out to for your fishing? Right? Anybody that helps you get it done?
Oh, main one. Yeah, I gotta have where is it? Old Town. So I did make the national pro team for Old Town last year with thanks to KBF and all that. So I've got them, and I've been back and forth with Amped right now as well.
Okay. Ant is a sponsor of CCKF this year.
Yep.
So at any tournament, the largest fish turned in to Tourney X this year at any CCKF event, Ant is giving $350 to that angler as a big bass prize. And then we've got a couple 30-amp batteries and chargers to give away.
Nice.
So I definitely I've seen them kind of step up their game as far as helping sponsor pack fishing. So what about you, Hunter? Have you picked up anybody?
You know, I'm still on my own right now. You know,
Free
my,
agent.
I'm a free agent right now. You know, I'm not gonna rush anything. When my time comes, my time comes.
Right.
Uh, and I mean that's just how I live. I you know, yeah, I'm gonna reach out, but when that time comes, that time comes. I'm a man of the Lord. So when He feels as if my time is right, I'll know.
Best attitude you can have, and I wouldn't rush it, right? So early on, I thought it was, I was like, I'm gonna apply to this pro staff and this pro staff and this pro staff, and all of a sudden, when you apply to 6 and none of them turn you down, you have to start questioning. This has nothing to do with my fishing ability, but more their marketing scheme, right? They're just selling you the same product at a discount. So yeah, hold out and get somebody that values you, and you get a sponsorship out of it as opposed to a pro staff. There's a lot of people don't realize that pro staff and sponsorship are two completely different things in the fishing industry. So, one thing I took from that is I don't seek anything for myself. I see everything every time I approach a company. It's in the name of CCKF, right? Anything I'm saying, look, I'm not taking anything from you. I'm just wanting to be a conduit for you to get your name and to get your product into some of our anglers' hands. And it helps CCKF, right? Because we have things to give away. But I definitely don't want to do it unless it's a company I feel like is aligned with what we're trying to do. We've got a good suite of sponsors this year. I'm sure Old Town is going to treat you well, Wyatt. Another one of our local guys, Don Trail Sullivan, made their national team this year. I mean, it just goes to further and further kind of justify and improve what Hank said. I mean, we've got some hammers in North Carolina, and it's time we show up and get those names on the boards, and take it out a little bit. So, well, is there anything that you guys want to add at all? Other than that, I mean, other than shouting out Old Town.
I mean, just honestly, just
Like,
just. Go ahead. What?
if you can come out to any of these tournaments and I want to get in. I'm about to say, like Mitch was saying, North Carolina has even whenever I lived in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach, it was always I don't want to go fish in North Carolina because that's where the hammers are. so getting out there and showing the entire country that North Carolina has the best sticks. So
Well,
we need everybody out there.
One of our guys did make a post in the group the other day. He posted, the you want to call it the heat map of the upcoming KBF tournament, right? And like, why aren't I think he said something like there's 19 or 20 guys from North Carolina signed up, and there's more than that from West Virginia and points north. People coming long distances to come down and fish this thing, and it's at Murray, right? And it seemed like very few North Carolina guys signing up. He was encouraging people to get on board. So, maybe we'll get some last second registrations.
Yep.
I definitely think so. I think they're kind of holding off on the KBF until after the Bassmaster. So, but I mean, like honestly, guys, you can honestly hit us up. I'm always down to go out with people. Get people started. That's what I love to do. I just love taking people out, teaching them how to just read a lake. So I'm always down to, I guess you'd say, more so of a mentor, but
No, don't see me as a mentor. Just see me as your
I'm
buddy.
definitely going to take you up on a trip to Sutton because I've been wanting to go anyway, and then finding out that you love it, I can't think of a better way for me to learn it. So,
Oh, that's no problem. Look, just let me know. We can go out.
oh, cool. Well, man, I look forward to seeing you guys again. Hope to see you on the water soon. Wish you nothing but success in 2014. I hope to see you. I hope to see y'all 1 and 2. But just switch off some. I mean, let Wyatt be first sometimes, and let Hunter be first sometimes. Just mix it up a little bit.
Well, yeah, come Murray. That's going to be an interesting one. Coming Murray.
We'll definitely be watching that leaderboard. So, and I always follow them a little bit better when I know some guys that are in them. So, but like I said, best of luck to you guys. Feel free to jump in a CCKF event if we're ever at someplace you want to hit up. And appreciate that y'all guys have participated in the past, and look forward to you representing North Carolina in the future. So,
of course, thanks for having us, man.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good night.
You as well.
So thanks everybody for tuning in and watching. And if those of you, if this is successfully uploaded to the podcast, thanks for listening. Just waiting to see how this audio turns out. I heard a few issues during the broadcast, so I'll have to work on some of my setup a little bit for that. I may end up having to go to headphones to keep from getting some kind of feedback. I suspect that might have been what I was hearing. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all of y'all for listening, and all that will listen on the replays. Excuse me. Y'all have a good night and tight lines.